Hello friends, in this video I will be sharing with you some very special hacks, or call it some secret tips or even cheat codes with regards to acing an interview. So I will be sharing with you 5 cheat codes. Now when I say cheat codes, they are really cheat codes. They are really like hacking the interview. You will not find these cheat codes anywhere else on the web, on YouTube. And the reason I claim that is because whenever I am making a video about a particular topic, while I have certain ideas of myself, I also go and research on the web to make sure if there are certain builds that I can add on. I can also find them and then build them in my videos or in my message. However, for this particular video, I was not able to find any cheat codes or any special hacks, and hence these are my 5 special hacks which have really worked for people I mentor, I coach, and even for myself. So let's get rolling into those cheat codes. Now, one call out before moving forward. I have 2 requests for you. One, press the like button. Second, press the subscribe button, as this keeps me motivated and also notifies you as soon as I put a new content on this channel. On this channel, I post content pertaining to financial and career success for early and mid-career professionals. Also, if you want to support me to continue making unbiased content, you can support me on patreon.com. I will leave the link to my page for patreon.com in the description of this video. Now let's get back into the video. Now, tip number 1 is related to online interviews. When you apply for a job, some of your interviews, if not all, will be online. So you can certainly make use of this cheat code as part of your online interview process. The hack is simply that whatever your key examples are that you want to call out in the interview, or anything, any skill or any particular characteristic, personality trait that you want to call out in the interview, take a page, list them down here in form of bullets. So let's take an example. I'm going for a behavioral interview, and I know that I will be asked behavioral interview questions where I will be asked to share an experience from my past. Tell me about an example where you led a team. So there will be a leadership question from my past. So what I will do is I will put that leadership example here as just one bullet, and underneath it 2, 3 or 4 bullets which I want to make sure that I need to cover in that particular example. So for instance, when I talk about the team, I need to talk about how many people were reporting into me, what was the project about, what was the challenge, what were the 2, 3 actions that I took, and what was the solution. And with this, you can list down those 5 to 8 examples that you believe you will be asked in the interview from your past. Now what happens is you list all this down, you keep this page in front of you, not showing up in the camera. It's down here with you. When you are asked a question, and let's say it's a leadership question you are asked, and you can't recall the leadership example you wanted to say, or maybe there are 2 or 3 examples which are coming to your mind and you don't really remember or can't really pinpoint exactly which example to put in, or maybe even if you recall the example, you are forgetting some of the details from within the example. So what you need to do is pick up the pen when the question is being asked and pretend as if you're taking notes, and you might need to take notes as well. So as the person is asking you the question, you put your head down and pretend as if you're writing. And you don't really need to pretend, you can really take notes. So for instance, if they're asking you about leadership question, you can write leadership, leading a team, whatever keywords that are coming from that particular question. You write them down. Now for the interviewer, he or she has assumed that you have a notebook in front of you and you are taking notes. As soon as they are done asking the question, what you want to do is you want to refer to that particular area of the page where you have all the examples listed, because you want to pick and make sure that you pick up the right example. Plus you also want to make sure that you cover all the details that are there for that example. So you don't have to memorize all of this. In the interview, you just go and use your brain for processing, not for memorizing. Hence, you have everything here. Now what you can tell the interviewer is, give me some time to structure my thoughts. And then you can look down again and look and find the example that you want to call out and the key bullets under that example that you also want to mention. Then pick up your head and just say that example that you picked and refer to the key bullets. Now, if while you're delivering the example, in case you forget any part of the example itself, you can always look down and refer to your notes, because for the interviewer, they think you've taken some notes. So you've written some things down because you were structuring your thoughts. So you've written this bullet or these points down that you are covering now as part of your example. However, you had them already there. So let's say I'm talking about leadership example and I'm telling how I led a team and how we led a project and how we finished the project. And then you can look down and say, yeah, there was one more thing that we did in the project, and this was another action that I did in the project. And then look down again, and yes, and last thing that I did in the project was so and so forth. So the idea here is you kind of have a cheat code in front of you. You can refer it just because you can take time from the interviewer, asking them, let me structure my thoughts. Take the pen and take your time while structuring your thoughts, which is kind of scribbling. And as you're structuring your thoughts, as you're scribbling, you can go through your notes, clarify it in your mind, and then speak to it. And where you need help, you can always go back, refer to the notes, and then speak to it again. Here, the key idea is, and always remember, the power of the brain is not to memorize things. The power of the brain is to process things. So try to put everything that you think you need to memorize here on the page. Let's say your strengths, your weaknesses, list them down. Also, so much so that you can put in the questions that you want to ask the interviewer yourself towards the end of the interview. You don't need to memorize them. Rather, when you're told that the interview is about to end and now you can ask any questions that you have for the interviewer, you can say, oh, I have a few questions that I listed before coming in the interview and I just want to read them out. So you don't really need to say, oh, you're thinking of those questions out of memory. You can just simply say, I have those questions listed and let me just read them out for you. Second cheat code is to record the interview, especially if you know that you will be going into more than one interviews. Then you record all the interviews, because each interview that you've given will help you prepare better for the interview that you're about to give next. Now here, why I call it a cheat code is because you cannot possibly ask the interviewer whether it is okay to record the interview or not. And there's no point in really recording the video. You can just record the audio using your phone. Now, it's not all okay to record someone without their permission. However, I don't see it as morally wrong, because I suggest this is a mode that you use as note taking. So instead of you every time pausing and telling the interview to stop and take notes and jot down your points, it is easier for electronic to record everything for you. So after the interview, you can go back to the interview and take the notes that you want to take. Alternatively, you can even ask a friend to sit in the corner and just take notes for you, which is again something that you don't want to do. So simply assume recording as a note-taking technique. Record your interview, just a voice recording. This will serve a few purposes. One, you can go back to the interview recording and see any mistakes you did and how you can improve. Second, anything that you may have exaggerated about a particular example that you gave from the past, you just want to make sure you stick to that example or that answer in the coming interviews as well. Similarly, if there was something special that the interviewer called out regarding the role that you want to make sure you cover in the next interviews. So let's say towards the end of the interview, you ask the interviewer, can you tell me what is exactly you are looking for? And they mention a few things which you think you can elaborate more in the coming interviews, because this is something that they are really looking for. So make sure you cover that piece in the following interview. You don't really need to take notes because you know it is being recorded. So essentially, by taking notes, you're able to use all your mental capacity to be present in the interview. Again, as I said, some of you may not find it morally correct. If that's the case, tough luck, don't use it. I see it just as a mechanism of taking notes. Frankly speaking, you can even refer to that recording, take notes, write them down, and then just delete the recording if you think this is morally not best. Next is about the title on your resume, or the titles that you call out for yourself in the interview, which technically should match the resume, but they don't need to match the title that you really have in the organization. So for instance, my title currently in the organization, as it spells out in the system, is Finance Director. However, that means nothing for the organization I'm applying for. For the organization that I'm applying for, they want a title that they can relate to in their organization, fit you where you can be fitted, or fit you in the role that they're hiring for. So for that matter, the title I normally use is Head of Finance for E-commerce. This means I know e-commerce, I'm the head, and I'm finance, versus just saying Director Finance. This means nothing. Also, because different companies have different hierarchies. In some companies, a senior manager can be equivalent to a senior director in another company. So you may be scaling yourself down or scaling yourself too high using exactly the title that you're given in the company. So change the titles based on what you are applying for or what you exactly do in the company, your actions, your responsibilities, so you can match yourself with the role that you are applying for. Similarly, if you're applying for a e-commerce finance position and your title is only head of finance while you do e-commerce, I would encourage you to put in your resume head of finance for e-commerce, because you are applying for an e-commerce finance position and you want to make sure that the organization that is hiring you sees that you have it on your resume. And again, when you call it out in the interview as well, make sure you call the same titles out in the interview as you have on the resume and not the ones that are given to you by the organization. So this is another hack, or call it a cheat code, in order to make sure that you come across suitable for the organization in which you are applying. Next is related to salary expectations. Never give your current salary. I made a separate video on this where I explain in detail how to go about addressing the question around what are your salary expectations. So in summary, don't give the number that you're currently making, because for the most part, the reason or one of the reasons why you're applying is because you want higher earning. So you don't want to set a lower base by giving a lower number that you're currently making. And hence, it is important that you don't share a number. Rather, you ask them to give you a range. If they can't give you an exact number, give you a range. And if you think you're somewhere in the range, maybe just choose the higher end of the range and say, yeah, this is what I was looking for. So don't give a salary. And if they put a gun to your head and really force you to give a salary, then my friend, I would recommend you give a salary in terms of what you expect, what you want, versus what you're currently earning. Because you want to set the base with regards to what you want versus what you're currently earning, which might be very low. So you want a higher base for them to see as a base and negotiate on top. So call out a number which you think you deserve versus the number that you are currently earning. Last hack or cheat code is that as part of the reverse interview questions, this is the section where the interviewer asks you to ask questions of them. Make sure you ask questions where you make the interview talk about themselves, about their history, about their career, about their role in the organization. People love talking about themselves. So if you go about asking questions pertaining to the organization and their initiatives and the projects the organization is doing, this is all boring stuff. No one wants to talk about what is happening in the corporate or what some other function is doing. Let's say I'm a finance guy and you ask me about a marketing initiative. It's technically not fun for me talking about initiative that the company might be doing, but I'm not part of it. However, if you ask me a question about myself, for instance, you've been in the company for 4 or 5 years. I just want to know what is that you like about the company, what brings energy to you, what keeps you motivated coming to work and delivering and giving your best. Now suddenly you're talking about me and you're asking a question about me, and I love talking about myself. Everyone loves talking about themselves. And hence I would like to tell you what I do, what I like about the company, what motivates me, and so on and so forth. This will also give you some information with regards to the culture of the company and how the people are treated in the company, but will also allow the interviewer to talk about themselves and feel good about themselves. So once they quit or exit the interview, they really go out with a good feeling because they ended the interview talking about themselves, which, as I said, is a great feeling. So this is kind of another hack that you can make use of. Thank you for watching this video. In case you like the video, I'm sure you'll find another video on my channel very useful where I talk about how to introduce yourself, which is when you're asked a question about tell me about yourself. Here's the link to that video. Another video that I have on my channel, which you'll like a lot as well, is how to control your nerves in an interview. So check out that video as well. Thank you.